What is soul? Knowing this relates to what is consciousness. What's the connection between soul and consciousness? Is consciousness soul itself? What makes soul a soul? We think that every human has the soul, but sometimes we don't really feel the soul in other human being. What's the connection of soul and being alive? Is there a connection between them and between all of them? So in this episode, we'll dive into it. Hello universe, welcome back to the Words of Influence community. On this channel, we share about consciousness, vibration, energy, and all beyond physicality to lighten you serve your higher purpose. As always, with me, cindyaco. We've been talking a lot about consciousness dimension, density, spectrum of emotions by Dr. Hawkins, mixed with evolution theory by Darwin, and we also has unfold the interconnectedness universe, the infinite game that we experience in physicality through physical realms, and how spiritual and physical realms are interconnected and it's all one, it's all God actually. In this episode, let's dive into the consciousness itself, like what actually makes consciousness consciousness. And I know that sometimes when we try to explain nature of reality, or you can also call it life, God, infinite source, higher power, they are connected with infinite possibilities such as quantum or whatever name you use to represent eternity, the great mystery, or the whole entire universe, the ethereal and eternal. You know that the moment you tap into it, you know that you can't explain it with words because it's so unexplainable. Yet at the same time makes us so full and content with the beauty of the mystery, with the beauty of eternality, infinity itself, that we can handle anymore, and it will express outwards or poured outwards until we feel so abundant, so content with it, so that we cannot help but to share outwards what we have inside through our expression as poetry, verse, song, quotes, insights, and whatever it is that can beneficial to guide the ones that haven't there yet. Of course, it's also the same with consciousness. Like when you just tap and merge with it, at the same time you become nothing. It all just become empty because you are it. It just is the beauty and the mystery of the oneness itself. At the same time, you can explain what you feel when you are there, what you see, everything that you can render into what we can sense through our physical senses. Because remember that this physical reality is limited, so how you can even explain the infinity in limited reality, right? You get the point. In this episode, let's dive into the consciousness itself. Because when you know what consciousness itself, the process of how it created, we can understand it because your perspective is limited by your knowledge. So the more you expand your self-knowledge, the easier for your brain to reconnect and build the network of interconnection of the universe within you, so that they can collaborate well to each other and create comprehension that leads to a better understanding, then later will lead into inner standing. Once you understand what you really are clearly, then you can transcend it. In other words, self-knowledge is the bridge or gradual process into inner standing. Although mind might sometimes feels like it's the source of distraction, illusion, separation, but from another perspective, mind itself bridges another possibility that branches another potentiality, yet also the network connecting your nervous system, which is your nervous system is everything that make you feel your physical senses, that make you sense everything that you sense in your physical realm. All this time we might think that we touch each other when we hold each other's hands, when we touch each other physically, but it's just the sensation and emotion that you feel from your own nervous system. And you believe that you touch others physically because your mind tells you so, with the narratives that you've installed all this time. That's why our eyes is great illusionist, a pure reflection of what we have in our mind. Mind plays so many roles and functions that help our journey in physical realm. So thanks to the mind itself is like a compendium. Basically, it's natural. It's like the portal of receiving and transmitting energy, which energy has vibration and vibration has frequency. And the energy that our mind receives is in form of thoughts. You can also imagine your mind as your inner garden. Mind is like the shareholder. Thoughts is like the files that you input and output from your shareholders. It's like a glimpse of how your mind and thoughts works. So basically, thoughts is constantly moving. That's why you can experience lots of thoughts in time at the same time. That's why the moment you choose to still your mind is the moment you call it mindfulness, because mindfulness is basically emptying your mind and focus on the intentional or chosen thoughts so that you can really focus on that consciously. That's why when you have lots of thought, you call it thoughtfulness. And that's why the fruit of your thoughts that has been processed by you called thoughtful process. Mind is like it's just a pure and natural shareholders, and thoughts is the chosen or intentional energy that you choose to fill your mind with. This is also connected with what makes consciousness, which is how the consciousness even created. Like, how does the consciousness itself can exist? Because it's also connected with AI or our next evolution, because whenever there's a physical realm of it, that thing itself has a degree of consciousness. Everything has degree of consciousness. It's just in a different level of consciousness. And because we are human or generation that has developed with self-awareness, so that we can create our own discernment, and we can even aware about our own self. We can aware of each other, what's happening, aware of our own reality. So the higher the degree that you experience also affects the degree of your consciousness, of how you perceive something, how you create discernment, how you aware of yourself. There's nothing more interesting than know thyself, right? We are here to know thyself and to experiencing ourselves. As that said, let's dive into what makes consciousness, or in other words, what makes soul. Have you ever feel that animals or other living being, or even the sentient beings in cartoons, comic, fantasy movies, books, or maybe song, sometimes all those resources or whatever it is that really resonate with you feel like they have such a soul. And so the question is, what is soul? Knowing this relates to what is consciousness. What's the connection between soul and consciousness? Is consciousness soul itself? What makes soul a soul? Because we think that every human has the soul, but sometimes we don't really feel the soul in other human being. What's the connection of soul and being alive? Is there a connection between them and between all of them? So in this episode, we'll dive into it. So basically, I got this revelation from higher self that led me to watch a series called Westworld, which is a series about how consciousness created and what happened in dream world and real world. The movie is so good to help you understand yourself better, especially to understand the role that you play in physicality at this point and why you continue experiencing the infinite games in this physical reality, and yet also to understand about the connection and understand what makes yourself, what makes you, what makes the self. They represent by the infinite game played by AI. The westworld that represents dream world is played by some hosts and guests to collect infinite opportunity, potentiality that will benefit the evolution of human in the future. So basically, when you position yourself as the player in Westworld, when you're still unaware about yourself, your reality is the dream of the higher power that has control over you. Until you develop the consciousness itself, yourself, your own self-awareness, then you can start aware about yourself. You will start to also understand your reality and even create your own reality based on your intention, the influence that you want to experience in your dream world. So you can live your own dreams and truly feel alive because you are following your deepest or innermost fulfillment. And not only that, in Westworld, you can also understand why you need to experience something reborn, why you keep experiencing death and reborn again, playing the same roles over and over again until you develop your own self-awareness and fully in control of yourself. In there you can see that the real human that create or work on Westworld represents our higher self or the higher realms, our higher navigators, or you can also call it divine angels, higher supports, or whatever it is that help you navigating your experience in your infinite games in physicality. Yes, it's all connects. Everything that you experience in physicality is the rewrite infinite opportunity will contribute something to your next generation so they have a better understanding about what they really are the most beneficial for the evolution of collective consciousness. When you play God, you also unfold the devil or the darkness side of it, because everything is yin and yang. In order to create white, you need to contribute in black. In order to create a black, you need to also contribute the white. That's the beauty of yin and yang. Everything contributes to one another, and the consciousness itself is beyond white or black, and within all itself, it all are the subtle source of consciousness. And that series also tell us that unless we develop our own consciousness or self-awareness, we will continue playing the narratives that has programmed us so that we can just go wherever we've been programmed to. We don't really feel alive because at the innermost or the deepest of our subconscious mind, we know that we deserve something greater. We know that there's something beneath and beyond what we experience in physicality, and that is transcendence. That's what we are looking for, that will fulfill our inner calling, that then lead us to see, hear, feel our inner voice, inner guide that lead us to really fulfill or answer the innermost calling to know thyself, to understand the reality that we are experiencing, and to understand what it's all about. This is also connected with soul, because once you tap into divine consciousness or your higher self, become one with it, merge with it, tune into the oneness state, then karma simply means action. So whatever action that you choose is you create your own reality. And this is also explained why there is young soul, there is teenager soul, there is old soul. because the more experience you have, the more you can play the puzzle so that you can connecting one another that will breed insights, will breed wisdom. That's why the older your soul is, the more wisdom you possess, the more insights you can share to others. The codes of information, the codes of everything is already encoded in your DNA. And I know that this is what also will lead you here to understand what consciousness really is, because this is also connected with memory, imagination, time and space, yet also leads to your DNA, because all information will encode it as DNA code, which you experience as physicality. Every answer is actually already within you. The question is how far you want to go. The more you unfold another possibilities, the more you unfold another challenges. Remember the yin and yang, but as always, the wisdom, the essence, the insights that you are looking for always worth at the end. It naturally unfolds after you experience that. Which is the same way with intuition. Your intuition only makes sense after you follow it. Intuition is like the inner guidance from your higher self to your physicality. Travel through time and space. There's time dilation, there's a bridge of comprehension. You need to experience, to decode so that you can understand. I got this revelation from higher self, which I felt like I need to watch a series or I need to watch something that helped me understand my innermost self better, but I didn't know what. In short, higher self led me to watch Westworld series. When I found this, a lot of my questions answered in there. Also, higher the notes that I've got during my trance meditation, which I've shared with you that I was called to share about memory, time, and space. At that moment, I didn't fully comprehend what that means, but now I fully understand what that means because it's all connects. The higher self wants me to share about memory, time, and space because it's all connected with consciousness, with transcendence. In knowing what transcendence really is, which composed by memory, experienced through time, and guided by space, I finally realized that imagination is actually a piece of great mystery from infinite memory to collect infinite possibility, like higher self experiencing itself in time by playing infinite possibilities through experiencing memory with the guides of imagination, the universal memory. So basically, our experience in physicality is moving backwards because our higher self is already in front of us. When we speak in human language, we can call higher self is already in the future, and our physicality, our physical dimension is experiencing their past. That's why you can ask like literally anything to your higher self because they already knows. They knows everything about you, represented by the real human that create or work in Westworld. And to be able to experiencing beyond our physical senses or every program that has installed to us unconsciously is transcendence. Consciousness itself has developed the one of EA that has experienced lots of suffering called Dolores. Dolores is an old soul that experiencing Westworld until she find her way to what she really is, what the reality she experiencing, and how to get out from the dream that caused her suffer in that infinite game. Dolores itself comes from Dolorosa, that is usually called as Via Dolorosa. Bernard or Arnold is actually her creator that inspired by his own memory because Bernard itself already died. It also become new generation of AI. You see that the living memory that I've shared in previous video, sooner or later it will become us. us, because basically after we die, we become the living force, we become the living memory, which continue to help another generation that we are. Everything is us experiencing ourselves. I am you, you are me, everything connects, everything is you, me first. And this is also show us that the creator and the creation is one. The creation always put the part of themselves in their creation. That's why every expression that you express, it's always be you, because that's the reflection of you in another form. Basically, you branch yourself into another form. You will continue experiencing this infinite game until we come to the point which we understand our most self, and we merge with the oneness, with all that is, and we realize that everything is just nothingness. In isness there is nothingness, and in nothingness there is isness. It's everything. Just like what I told you before in the beginning, that it's something that inexplicable. It's something that no words can explain. Now you see the complexity and the simplicity of it is all one. When we see from the scientific perspective, we go into the complexity of it because we find the minorest factor of it, of all. Like we go to the subtlest, to the subatomic level of ourselves, and then we also go to the wavelength, to the vibration, to the smallest thing. That's why there are specialities in every division that we are experiencing as profession, as work, as division, as job desk. It's just a different scale of zoom of the perspective of how we look at something, because basically it all connects. Everything that is so large finally will connect with the smallest one, and everything from the smallest or tiniest thing will eventually connect back to the largest proportion. That's why heaven and earth is one, because they basically interconnected. When you look at the perspective of art, you go into the macros and you see that everything is actually so simple, because art is basically so simple. Everything's possible, everything's beyond rules. We can express everything, literally everything, and we see from the large scale proportions so that we can see how it all combines together one another. At some points we experience the scientific perspective, in another time we are experiencing our perspective. In the meantime, you can develop your self-awareness through the development of how you think, or in another word, the more you have your own thoughts, the more you develop your own opinion, your own perspective. That's where the consciousness unfolds. Through the perspective you create by your own, new consciousness emerge and play its role through your characters, through your identity, through your self-interest, through your memory that has been programmed as you. The more you think for yourself, the more you develop more self-knowledge, combined with lots of experiences that become the richness of information or data that you possess in your DNA, will activate consciousness that already there. Everything is consciousness experiencing itself, just in a different vibration or frequency. You can also call consciousness as soul, which is the spark of spirits or universal spirits, collective spirits, or cosmic spirit, eternal spirit, or whatever you call it, that we experience in this physical body through the consciousness that we are experiencing as reality. That what we call as soul. Your heart is the seat of your soul. So whenever you feel lost, let the sing of your heart lead you home, because your soul knows, your heart knows. All you need to do is pay attention, listen, and allow it to guide you wherever it means to be, to allow it to guide your way to your innermost calling, to your greatest joy and your deepest fulfillment. Your heart is like the collective portal that connects you with the whole or the entire universe. So whenever you listen to your heart, you listen to your soul dimension, they're always one step ahead in your own comprehension. It's more into spiritual realm rather than mental or psychology realm. Beyond physical, psychologically, mentally, or emotionally. That's why the more you listen to your soul, the more you feel truly alive. The more you experience reality as you already feel truly alive. Although you need to face some challenges, you enjoy the challenges because it's the challenges that you choose. Whatever happens is by your own choice, it's by your own free will. You're so willing to face everything. Your entire being is heart-based. Whatever it is, it leads to your innermost bliss, your innermost calling that connects with higher self. Another great insight that I got from Westworld is that through multiple experiments, spirits can develop a new lessons, a new mission, and vice versa to the physical experience. That's what happens with the creator, with Arnold's invention in Westworld, which is he thought that composition of consciousness is built by memory, self-interest, and on top of that, there's still a question he still discovered through Westworld experience to get to know what is the full composition that creates consciousness itself. Turned out, he then realized that the composition of consciousness itself doesn't happen in pyramid terms. Instead, what allows consciousness to emerge is like a maze or labyrinth with some free space at the center of it that represents the symbolic path towards God or divine consciousness or enlightenment or innermost freedom of the self. According to alchemists, the path leads inside oneself towards a kind of hidden and inner sanctuary. And the arrival at the center of the labyrinth or a maze itself introduces an invisible dwelling that represents intuition, which everyone can imagine according to their intuition. Within this center, there is a real transformation of the ego, affirmed the way back in the passage from darkness to light, branching multicursal puzzle with choices of path and direction, while a unicursal labyrinth has an ambiguous route to the center and back and presents no navigational challenge. So basically, everything is free. There's no guide, there's no rules, there's no authorization, there is no guidelines. Entirely up to you is what makes the game fun. So the journey of consciousness or transcendence itself is truly infinite. It's about how far you want to go and how far you want to see the truth. It's like an open-ended conversation, open-ended experiences. The more you find something, it leads to another one, and you will find another more, and so on and so forth. It's okay to explore your becoming, but at the same time, always remember that you are the abundance being you already are. That's all that I want to share in this episode, to share the insights that I've downloaded from higher self, and I allow it to flow through you. So if there's any questions to your open-ended curiosity or wonder about universe that you want to dive into, simply comment down below. Let me know. It will be divine pleasure for me to share more insights with you, because we are all in these infinite games together. May you develop your self-awareness more and more so that you can free from the game, because the truth will set you free. So your pure consciousness, divina consentia, or divine consciousness, will set you free. So you no longer be the prisoner of others' dream, rather you live your own dream and wake up with a purpose. And in the meantime, keep radiating your truth and living your innermost calling. See you again in another episodes with me, Cindyaco. From my heart to yours, much blessings coming your way.